Merci, Madame la Présidente. As you rightly say, this is the second revision of the Cotonou Agreement, and the legal basis of the revision is Article 95 of the Cotonou Agreement. It's good to see my friends here from the Commission on this issue, because they know the concerns and reservations that I have, which I have to say sadly have recently been reinforced and have actually made the hand of the Commissioner, Andreas Piebalgs, engage himself in a letter that was sent to the ACP. But let me continue. It is, as you say, the second revision. It's not an amendment of the revision, and it was initiated on the 28th and 29th of May, and if I'm right, it was agreed under the Spanish presidency. I think I'm right in saying that, but that's just by way of a detail. The main reasons for the revision are to preserve the relevance and outstanding character of the partnership between the ACP and EU countries, to adapt the agreement to recent major changes in international and ACP-EC relations, and to further develop several themes that are essential for both parties. Inter alia, the political institutional dimension, economic cooperation, regional integration, trade, development financing, cooperation, aid programming and management, and not the least, of course, EPAs and regional integration, as I said. So the procedure, where are we now? The Commission has negotiated the revision. The Council signed it off. All EU ACP states, I think all the EU states have now ratified it, but certainly all the ACP states have ratified it, and it now comes to the Parliament for our consent. So we can either give our consent or not. There is no modification. It won't come as a surprise to many people who attend this committee that I have some concerns, and these concerns were addressed in Madame Joly's report of December 2009. However, most of them have not been addressed in the final text. The sticking point for me that this committee has expressed in several resolutions already regards the negotiations to reinforce the principle of non-negotiable human rights clauses, namely Article 8.4, the non-discrimination clause in policy dialogue. This has not been reworded adequately and only includes the wording of Article 2 as an addition of the UN Declaration of Human Rights. There was an explicit resentment from the ACP side to include sexual orientation. This in itself perhaps would not be a problem. However, homosexuality is still a crime in 38 ACP countries, and the EU cannot, especially given its recent resolutions in the Strasbourg plenary, cannot send a signal that it is not consistent on the application of non-discrimination criteria. It's very clear within the treaty that our basis is Article 13X of the Treaty of Amsterdam, now Article 19 of the Lisbon Treaty, and that is non-discrimination on the grounds of race, ethnicity, religion or belief, age, disability, sexual orientation, gender being covered elsewhere. We make absolutely no differentiation. As we would not stand back and allow discrimination on the grounds of race or ethnicity to go on, neither would we if it's related to any of the other grounds, including sexual orientation, but could I say particularly including sexual orientation, because people use religion and culture as an excuse for discriminatory and often violent activities. So remaining silent on these is not an option for the Parliament, and I do not believe that what we currently have within the slightly reworded Article 8.4 is sufficient, particularly given the phrase of mutual concern, and I will come to that in the next and final part of my presentation. Other concerns have been mentioned in this House in the International Trade Committee in their opinion, which has already been adopted, and concerns the absence of reference to trade and finance and fair trade, tax-related aspects of development, the promotion of microcredits to facilitate investment and development. So, the proposed way forward. Aware of the concerns that I've outlined, particularly on the issue of non-discrimination, Commissioner Piebalgs asked me to co-host with him a high-level event on non-discrimination and development at the European Commission very recently. Navé Pillay, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, was present, as was Louis Michel, the EU co-chair of the ACP Joint Parliamentary Assembly, and some key actors from the world of business, politics, civil society and the arts, as well as NGOs from third countries. I am sad to say that the ACP Group President, the Minister of St. Lucia, as well as the ACP co-chair of the Joint Parliamentary Assembly, Musikari Kombo, though they both accepted to attend the conference, preferred to leave the building minutes before the event started, informing both me and the Commissioner, because of our decision to talk about discrimination on the grounds of sexual orientation as well as other grounds. Hence, therefore, the sticking point in the ratification of the revised Cotonou Agreement. It seems that we could not even have a political dialogue with others about the problems within the EU on these matters, as well as the problems within the ACP. So if we have no hope in achieving a discussion under the auspices of the Commission, let's forget the Parliament, how on earth can we have a potential dialogue on these issues of mutual concern when the ACP consistently, both in committee in this House and in committee elsewhere, as well as in its plenary, has said that it is of no concern to the ACP? I am told that it's considered un-Caribbean, un-African. It's not a part of the Pacific culture. We are talking about not Europeans going there. We are talking about Africans, Caribbeans, people of the Pacific, who deserve the same human rights and equality of approach before the law as anybody else without distinction. It's worth reflecting that when the EU as a bloc concerned itself about the issue of apartheid, if we'd accepted the notion that that was African and nothing to do with us, where would we be now? Here, here. We either progress along with the weakest and the most vulnerable, or we don't progress at all. We judge how we go by how the weakest and the most vulnerable are accorded their rights. Very good. So, I'm pleased to say I received an extremely strong letter from Commissioner Piebalgs today, sent to the Secretary-General of the ACP Group, expressing his disappointment in the strongest terms and wishing to find a way to have a political dialogue on non-discrimination, including on the grounds of sexual orientation. When it came to the conference, I was expecting a good outcome. The idea was to have an open discussion about the importance of promoting equality, as I said, in the EU and in the ACP. But it was a success, as the EU showed a united front, and we heard how in the EU we still have a long way to go to ensure full equality and end discrimination. However, the boycott by the ACP Group was unhelpful and has left a bitter taste. The Cotonou Agreement is an important text, but it will be worth noting that if we do not have a comprehensive political dialogue, we will achieve little. We are clearly, in the Parliament, not in agreement about the content of the revision. So I have to ask myself why, in relation to that and in relation to recent events, and the fact that we have seen a retrograde movement in terms of the rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender people in certain ACP countries, I have to ask myself, why should the Parliament give its consent? We are clearly not in agreement. I have to also remind you that should we choose not to give our consent, There are no financial implications. The poor will not suffer. But can I tell you, which is why I am in a real dilemma, the people who may suffer will be lesbians, gays, bisexual and transgendered, who will be accused that because of them this agreement has not gone ahead. Well, I am one of them. As a gay man, I could have been born in Africa, the Caribbean, the Pacific. I was extremely lucky not to be. That, for me, is the dilemma. Do I allow the promotion of scapegoating? Or do we say we pass this through with the greatest reluctance, and the revision in 2015 will not be countenanced on exactly the same terms? Thank you.